Hey guys, welcome to this week's Midweek Motivation. We have been in a series on miracles, and the question has been, do miracles actually still happen in today's world? And I think that we've heard all kinds of stories that support that they do. But there is that question of when you're praying for your miracle and it hasn't actually happened yet, what does it look like in the waiting? And so I've invited my guest Rachel here to join us, and she's got quite a miracle that she's asking for.
The following podcast contains a testimony that may be triggering or traumatizing to some audiences.
Welcome to the Midweek Motivation Podcast, where we bring practical help for your faith and life. Here's today's episode.
Let's start with your story and where were you? Where are you right now? Like, what's caused you to pray for this miracle?
Yeah. So the miracle that I wrote down that I want to have happen is for God to be able to use my rapes. I've been raped a couple times as a catalyst to help thousands of other people heal from something similar.
Yeah.
So how I got here, well, to start, the first experience I had was when I was 14. I was gang raped at 14, and that was actually my first sexual experience I've ever had. And then date raped when I was 21. And so I've done a lot of healing work. I've done a lot of therapy. I've done like women's empowerment type of stuff and things with groups. And so a lot of the times in those groups, women specifically have supported me and uplifted me and encouraged me that, wow, okay, these are huge things that you've been through. And I mean, it used to be I couldn't even talk about it at all without crying. And I'm to the point now where, okay, a little bit of cracking in the voice, but not full on crying. So it's definitely progress.
Wow.
But yeah, so just being encouraged by other people that this is something that can help people. And now that I know God, it's like, man, I have unlimited possibilities to partner with him and help other people.
Wow, that's so incredible. I thank you so much, first of all, for being willing to share your story. It takes a lot of courage, I think, to be in this place. And then also, like, I'm just inspired by the fact that that you've gotten to know God and can see all of those possibilities. Can you share a little bit about what that process has been like? Because you said like you're praying for that miracle now, like it hasn't necessarily happened yet, or maybe this is the beginning.
Yeah,
Yeah. But what has it looked like to be in that process of waiting? What's God been doing in that?
I think he's been taking me through a lot of healing. That's the biggest thing, is finding people I can trust that I can talk to about it. Because I don't think he could use me if it was super raw still, you know? And so through therapy, through my amazing husband, you know, talking to him and him loving me well through the struggles of what's currently kind of the issues with my healing process, because it's not done, you know, it's definitely still happening. So yeah, I think talking about it has been one of the biggest things. Just the more I talk about it to trusted people, though, not just random people or people I'm kind of friends with, but having those really trusted relationships to help me heal and encourage me.
Yeah, that's awesome. It sounds like just in conversation, you've had some real breakthrough in that, even just recently. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, definitely.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
What do you feel like God's been showing you about him in this process?
That's a good question. I think he's been showing me about him that I can trust him. A lot of times it's like, dude, how did you let this happen to me? You know, how can you let these types of things happen to people? And then I think about it and I think he was with me. I didn't even believe in God until like maybe 5 years ago. So I didn't think he was with me through any of that. But looking back, it's like, oh my gosh, things could have been so much worse. Things could have, I mean, I believe that I almost died the first experience. There was a lot of violence happening. And so like I could have died, I could have all of that stuff. But God was with me. He was watching over me. He was heartbroken by what happened. And I think that it's just building that trust and relationship with him and seeing that he has taken care of me.
Wow, that's incredible. What has he been showing you about you in this process?
Ooh, that's a good one. What's he been showing me about me? I think that I'm courageous, that I don't even know. That I'm courageous, that I'm strong, that I have the ability to partner with him and heal. It's not on me to heal either. It's like, part of it is for me to do that, but I think showing me that I can rely on him and helping me see that too.
Yeah.
That's what I can think of right now.
That's the big stuff. Yeah, that's the big stuff.
Yeah,
for sure. I mean, I ask those questions because just because I think you're looking for purpose in this and like how God can use it.
Yeah.
For those for that impact kind of a thing.
Yeah.
So specifically geared towards that, you said that your hope is to be able to use this story to help other people.
Yeah.
When did that shift happen, and what did that kind of look like?
For that to be my hope,
Yeah.
you mean?
Your miracle prayer.
Yeah. It's actually when Gabe the first day he started talking about write your miracle down, I was thinking future miracles. And then I talked to him. I was like, wait, did you want us to write down something that's already happened? He said, either way is fine.
Yeah.
And I was thinking of all these things and had all these ideas. And then it was like Holy Spirit was pumping my heart super hard. And he's like, write it down. And I was like, okay, this is kind of scary, but all right, I'll write that down. But I think like that was kind of the biggest, most recent experience with that. But I think he had planted it years ago. I was doing this women's conference that was in New York. It was like 4 weekends in New York, and I was flying from the West Coast to New York to do this. And that's when I really like cracked open and started diving into what had happened to me. And that's when I had all these women around me and I was telling them my story, and it was just like tears pouring and everybody's crying, and it was so intense. And I think that's when it sparked it, because it's like, I mean, I was at this thing with thousands of women and I'm thinking, holy smokes, these women can be the people that I've impacted. In my head, it was like, this is how many people I can impact with this story. And then, the onesies and twosies here and there, and holding people's hands and, encouraging them face to face too, but having this like larger scale thing.
Just recognizing that those things are actually happening in the moment. So it sounds like maybe your miracle has started to happen already, even as far back as that. That's incredible to think. Excuse me, to realize. Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So that was actually going to be one of my questions. Like what, have you had any experiences where you've seen God start to make this work? And that's so cool to be able to sit down and look back and think, oh, wait, I have actually seen God working in that situation.
Yeah. And when you first came up to me too, it was like, oh my gosh, this is a moment.
Yeah.
Another step towards this actually happening.
Yeah. Wow. That's so cool. Mm-hmm. So like looking into the future, is there like anything that you feel like God's revealing to you, or something like if you look at the end goal and can say, yeah, my miracle has happened, what do you think that looks like?
That's hard, because it's something that it's not super tangible, it's not like I'll have 1,000 people come up to me and say, your story impacted me, so I think it's more, I mean, it could be something tangible. It could be like, 1,000 views on this video, or there could be, people coming up to me. But I almost feel like it's more of almost like a settledness in my heart type of thing. Like God silently whispering to me, like, we did it.
That's awesome. I love it. Very cool. Okay. Well, so I'm going to ask you to go back real quick and talk through like what that healing process has looked like for you. You've kind of touched on it a little bit, but I think that it is really cool, and maybe it would be helpful to the audience to think through or to find some next steps that you might be able to encourage them if they're working through their healing right now.
Yeah, definitely. Like I mentioned before, the talking to trusted people and therapy, I think, is huge, probably even more than talking to trusted friends. Worship music, singing. I mean, there's been times when I'm just super down and feeling like I'm worthless and like I used to think that I was damaged goods from this, and I thought I would never get married because who could deal with somebody like this who's had this kind of stuff happen to them. And when I've been in those moments, it's like, okay, well, one thing that is kind of specific to me is hula hooping. Like I have my little things that I do if I'm just struggling. And so like whipping out some hula hoops and just doing stuff on my hands or around my waist or whatever, that 2 minutes of that, 2 seconds of that, I can balance a hula hoop on my hand and I'm like, okay, I feel better. But it's not to say that it's just to push away the emotions of it. That's where like doing the therapy and stuff comes into play. It's not just ignoring it, but sometimes having something just joyful like that. Or I remember walking around the parking lot where I worked and just feeling super sad and super stressed. And I just popped on some Cochran & Co. and belted out in the parking lot. I'm like, I don't care who hears me. And I'm walking back and forth and just singing super loud to these songs that just touch my heart about what I'm feeling. So that's been a couple of ways that have been really helpful. And yeah, I think talking about it consistently, but having those moments of lightheartedness with it too.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay.
You ever have those deeper questions and you just really want to go to work on it, but you don't know where to go? Maybe you're wondering, how did we get the Bible? Or you're wondering, I wish I could figure out how to be more intentional in my prayer life, to really dig in. Or I want to know more about this or that, and I just don't know where to go. Well, we've got an option for you. It's called self-paced training. We've built a platform called Westside Plus, and we want you to take a look at it. It's a way to get deeper in your faith, to really grab those topics that are specifically designed to help you grow to another level in your faith and to go after it. And they're self-paced in the sense that you can take the course and you can stop and start and it'll remember where you're at and you can complete these things and you can go to the next level. And this is a way to keep growing in your faith. It's called Westside Plus. We want you to check it out at westsidecommunitychurch.com/Westside Plus, Plus, Westside Plus.
So if somebody was wrestling, because there are lots of different types of pain and trauma that people are dealing with, but wherever they are, if somebody was looking for their next step to begin the healing process, how would you recommend they go about that process?
Yeah.
The first steps.
The first steps. Well, for me, honestly, it took me, I didn't even realize what had happened to me for 15 years. Like, totally had no idea. I had a friend that was with me when I was 14 in that experience. And to this day, we still have never talked about it. And I didn't talk to anybody. I didn't talk to parents. I didn't talk to anybody. I think that's part of God's protection in a way, is like your little 14-year-old brain cannot handle what just happened to you. So we're going to pop it in the back of in the trauma brain, as my therapist called it. We're going to pop it in the back of your brain and just let it be there until you can process what's happened. And so I was on a phone call with a friend and we were talking and it was like, I had this flash of almost like a movie scene in my eyes. And I was telling her, I'm telling her what was going on. And I was like, I don't watch movies like that. I don't like violence and, that kind of stuff. Wow. And I was realizing, that wasn't a movie scene. That was my memory from what happened to me when I was 14, like playing back as a flashback kind of. And so on that phone call with her, she was the first person who I'd ever told because I was discovering it as I was talking to her.
Wow.
And so she was helping me and talked me through it. And it took probably years before I told another person about it. So my first step was talking to a friend about it. And she's somebody that I've trusted and I've traveled with and been through experience with and known for a while. So talking to her about it was the first step.
Yeah. Just real quick, like that, I can't even imagine what something like that would be like in the very beginning stages of remembering something like that.
Yeah.
And so I think that number one, I can see God's hand in that you remembered it while you were on the phone with a trusted friend.
Yeah, totally.
But I think that it's valid to stop and settle on the fact that that's a huge thing to have to deal with in a moment. What kind of encouragement or could you give somebody who's just stepping into that side of it? You know what I mean?
Yeah, like maybe just realizing that they'd been through something like that.
Yeah, we're just dealing with it.
Yeah, because I know a lot of other people have the same type of experience, like 5, 10, 15, 20 years later is when they actually realize something like that happened to them,
Yeah.
especially when they're kids, when it happens for the first time. So I guess some encouragement is like, yeah, it sucks.
Yeah.
It seriously sucks. And my heart breaks for anybody that's going through that right now.
Yeah.
And it does get easier. And I think leaning into God has been the most helpful thing. Like talking to people and therapists has been good too, but leaning into God, having silent moments with God, because I think a lot of people who've been through something like this also do is, especially people like me who are kind of outgoing and spontaneous and love fun. And it's kind of just like, oh, let's just push all the negative things down and forget that ever happened.
Yeah.
Is actually being able to sit with God and realize he's safe. I'm safe now. I'm not currently going through that experience, even though it may feel like it. And to really sit with it. I wish that I kind of had done that a little bit sooner. I kind of spent a while running away from it and just, nope, that didn't happen. I don't need to address it. So yeah, sitting with God.
Yeah.
Asking him for help healing, asking him to highlight people who are safe to talk to about it.
Yeah.
Even like I'm pretty meticulous with things. So I'll research. Okay, Christian therapists who have dealt with sexual trauma, and narrowing that down and then calling that list and then talking to them and figuring out who's in my budget and doing all of that.
Yeah.
So that was another really helpful step.
That's very step-by-step too. So if you're looking for something practical and you don't have, I mean, I would imagine that in that situation, I'd be like, I don't even know what to do,
Yeah.
So.
Well, and I have a lot of those moments too.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, being able to,
very practical.
to pray and come back to the practical stuff too kind of helps me bring it back. Because I get in these spirals of like, oh my gosh, I'm not worth being on this planet. I think about that a lot. Like, I'm not even worth being here. I'm not worth being loved. I'm not worth being seen, like whatever the case is. And so I'll forget all the things that I just said, and then somebody will, somebody like Cody, my husband, will go, oh, hey, have you prayed about that lately? Oh, nope. Thanks for the reminder.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Well, I appreciate your time. Is there anything specific that you wanted to share? I just want to make sure that you have time to share what it is that God's put on your heart to share and kick off your miracle.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a couple things. One thing is maybe if somebody's feeling like I had I'm never going to find love either in friendship or marriage or anything like that. I encourage them not to settle. I would rather be alone than be with the wrong person. And Cody's been the perfect person for me. He pursued me. He found out about what happened to me, and he didn't run away. He didn't try to brush it under the rug. He didn't try to have sex with me anyways, even if I was vulnerable and sad, which other people had done. And it's like, dude, this is not appropriate. Like I'm not trying to go there right now. And so just sticking to your guns about, being around the right people and allowing them to speak into your life. That's been huge for me.
How do you identify who the right people are?
I think it's kind of trial by error. You've let them in a little bit more. And then it's like, okay, this person feels safe. This person isn't pushing my boundaries. This person isn't trying to force me to do something I don't want to do or to talk about something I don't want to talk about. Things like that.
So you have clarity on what that looks like for you moving forward, and then you just kind of trust the process. But it sounds like put boundaries in place that filter those people out when they're
yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
And it's not nobody's perfect, so sometimes I've let people in and it's like, probably shouldn't have done that. And so that's kind of going back to trusting God. It's like, okay, I know I can trust him, even if maybe it doesn't seem like those people were people I could trust. And just being able to be okay that not everybody's perfect, but at least not just opening up right away.
Yeah.
Basically was kind of the biggest thing.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's one thing.
Okay.
Another thing is that I've dealt with a lot of depression around this. And I didn't even know I was depressed when I was younger, and I had no idea because I was about 30 when I remembered what happened. And so I would go through life and just be like, why am I so sad? Like I have good parents. I'm close to my brother. Why am I so sad? And I had no idea. And I was just depressed a lot. And it's gotten better. It gets easier. My lows aren't as low. My lows don't last as long. And even fairly recently, I'd been low for about 3 weeks. And it was like, oh my gosh. It hadn't been weeks for a long time, but it used to be years. And it was like, oh, well, weeks of being down felt like a long time to me. But then remembering, oh no, it's way better than years of being down.
Yeah.
And I had an experience, I think it was about a year ago, where I had gotten super depressed, and I left the house and I drove away, and I just was so sad, and I was crying, and I didn't know what to do, and I wanted to just drive off the road into the ditch, and there was an ambulance in front of me, and God was like, really? Not going to get far with that.
Wow.
And so that's one thing. I think this was in my notes. It's my sheep know my voice.
Yeah.
John 10:4, the sheep follow him, for they know his voice. And I have spent so much time in prayer and so much time with God that I could hear that in that moment.
Yeah.
And okay, fine. Good point. I'll just keep staying on the road then.
It's like, I already gotcha.
Yeah, totally. And he's protected me in so many experiences that it's like, whoosh, what makes me think he's going to just let me do that,
Yeah.
So knowing that it can be super sad again, even if you've done all this work and you've done all these things and you have all these supportive people in your life and you have God in your life and it still is hard, like that's okay and that's part of it, And it does get better and it is a season. And I think allowing people to speak into my life in those down times, because I tend to isolate and just go away from everybody. And that's not, maybe that's what I need sometimes for a little bit.
Yeah.
But I also need to allow people to be there for me. And this last time when I was down for a few weeks, I had like 4 friends just randomly reach out to me and say, ask how I'd been doing. And I was just honest with them, and they got to help me come back.
That's awesome.
So, yeah, I think that's pretty much it.
Those are the things.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Well, so if somebody, just to wrap us up, if somebody is in that place now where they're like, oh my gosh, I've been waiting for so long, whatever the situation might be, and I'm wanting my miracle, what would you share with them to encourage them?
I would say just hold on to that vision of what the miracle is that you want. Maybe even posting it around your house.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Keep it in front of you.
Yes. Keep it in front of you. Put it in your car. Remind yourself about that, and remind yourself about other miracles that have happened in your life.
Yeah, that's good.
Because it's like, oh, it has happened before. I forget.
Yeah.
So maybe even having some of those miracles up, in your house or in your car or whatever. Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Keep the hope, keep the faith.
Keep praying.
Keep praying. Yep, for sure. Praying is huge.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you for, again, having the courage to share and just being open to be used by God. I think I'm inspired by you and encouraged by you. So, it's been just a blessing to work with you and to get to know you. And I appreciate your courage and your willingness to share and encourage other people. And I just wanted to wrap us up with this thought that that you help us to remember that our waiting time when we're waiting for our miracles is not wasted time, that there's activity in it. And you definitely have to take a part in that, which you've talked about.
Yes.
But that the other piece of that is working with God in it. And he's working for sure in it. And, but that your story matters. And I'm glad that you're here listening or watching wherever you are. For anybody who's watching, I just want you to know that your time is not wasted. And I think.
Yeah. Time's not wasted. And it does take that intentionality.
Yeah.
It's like, who was it in the boat? Was it Peter that got out of the boat?
Yeah. Peter in the boat with Jesus in the middle of the storm.
Yep.
Yeah.
So he had to get out of the boat.
Yeah.
I mean, Jesus could have just had him float on water and whatever, but he didn't. He needed him to step out and take it, do his piece of it too.
Participate. Yep.
Yeah.
It's good stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, for anyone who's listening, I just want you to be encouraged that your wait time's not being wasted. So.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Midweek Motivation. To make sure you don't miss any content in the future, please subscribe, share, and if you enjoyed this, give us a like, and consider popping by a Westside service some weekend. You can find out more at westsidecommunitychurch.com.